This is QTV News. I am Mamudu Gajiga and thanks for joining us. Here are the main headlines. A court case which at one point saw 37 youth accused of capital crimes which can carry a life sentence has now seen 30 released without charge and the remaining 7 facing less serious charges. As the National Assembly resumes, members discuss important road, transport and aviation proposals. Gambia's sprint queen, Gina Bass, has received another accolade following her gold and silver medal winning exploits at the recent African Games. She makes the cover of an influential magazine. A blood donor exercise has seen the Army once again demonstrate its commitment in supporting such initiatives. Despite being made illegal in this country in 2015, the practice of FGM continues in many areas. How can journalists report on what is such a sensitive subject? A 3-day training course tries to provide the answer. For more on these and other stories, stay tuned. Welcome and thank you if you're just joining us. This is QTV News. The High Court of the Gambia has today granted conditional bail to 7 youth who were allegedly involved in a mass protest in July, which led to the destruction of public and private property. The 7 who have been granted bail were among the 37 youth who were on remand at the Mile 2 prisons after the matter was transferred to the High Court. Mahmoud Lamin Choi was there, and this is his report.
After the Carnifing Magistrates Court transferred the case involving the 37 accused who were facing capital offence charges, Justice Basiru Mahoney, presiding at the High Court of the Gambia, has today granted conditional bail to 7 of the accused. Each will have to fulfill a bail condition of $100,000, surrender their travelling documents and give a Gambian surety. Justice Mahoney's decision came after the state withdrew charges against 30 other accused youth last Tuesday. Defense lawyers for the remaining 7 had applied to the High Court for bail for their clients, which was being heard today. The team of defense lawyers informed the court that their clients were not present in the court, but that they were nevertheless ready to proceed with the hearing in the absence of any objection from the state prosecutors. The High Court will hear the charges against the accused persons in due course. In reaction to the court's decision, the Vice President of Team Gomsobopa, Tijan Babujo, expressed trust in the ruling and promised that they will fulfill the bail conditions.
We expected the conditions too, because it's not like it's been a very fair legal process. So there are flaws in the legal process, of course, we all know that, but still, it's great that they're going to be with their families today. So that is what we are glad about. But when it comes to the proceedings and the process, we've always talked about us not being pleased with the way the whole thing is being handled. So
the Team Gomsobopa President Killer Ace is among the 7 who have been granted bail today. The High Court is still on recess and is expected to resume next month. Mahmoud Lamin Chai for QTV News.
The Works, Transport and Infrastructure Minister, Lamin Job, is seeking deputies' approval of a treaty on the establishment of the Dakar-Abidjan Corridor Development Project, which is between the governments of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Sierra Leone and Senegal. Aliou Cissé reports.
In moving the motion for ratification, Minister Job began by giving deputies an overview of the treaty with a view to convince them to ratify the treaty. He went on to share with the MPs what the country stands to gain from the project if ratified, and as well as the moves taken by the government to realize this target. The National Assembly member for Fonyi Bintang, Mamadou Kamara, moved a motion supported by his colleagues for the treaty to be referred to the relevant National Assembly Select Committee for thorough scrutiny. According to him, NAMS had received the treaty document the morning it was presented by the minister. The Works Minister also laid before deputies 3 additional motions relating to aviation, including the Convention on the Suppression of Unlawful Acts relating to international civil aviation and the unlawful seizure of aircraft, bilateral air services between the Gambia and 12 other countries, and the protocol to amend the Convention on the Offences and other acts committed on board aircraft. As with the previous one, these motions were also referred to the concerned Parliamentary Select Committee for scrutiny to be determined by the National Assembly. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Gambia's Gina Bass, winner of the women's 200 meters gold medal at the recently concluded African Games in Rabat, Morocco, is the African Sports Monthly Athlete of the Month for September for her strength of character and exemplary performance on the track. The Gambian track queen is leading the headlines in Africa after beating Africa's long-standing sprint sensation Marie-José Talou. Babakar C has the rest of the details.
Overcoming the worst of odds, abandoned to fend for herself, she pulled herself from the verge of despair. Instead of throwing her hands up and giving up, she struggled on to now stand on a pinnacle of success in her sport. In doing so, she is showing her peers and future generations that it may rain, but the rain will stop, and the sun will certainly shine once again. The 24-year-old nation's pride is currently the fastest woman in Africa, having dethroned Marie-José Talou of Ivory Coast, who was at one time the standout performer in both the women's 100 and 200 meters. Gina Bass is eyeing success in the IAAF World Championship hot on the heels of a rampage performance in the recently concluded All-African Games in Morocco. Bass, gifted title deeds by the president in a rare show of appreciation to a sport that has suffered over 2 decades of getting the cold soldier treatment from government, sealed a place in the World Championship in Doha following her incredible 200-meter dash success. She has already departed the country's shores to Senegal for preparations for the championship, which begins on September 27th. Congratulations, Gina, and keep up the hard work. We hope to see you excel and hit even higher heights at the World Athletics Championship in Doha and at the 2020 Olympic Games.
We will now take a short commercial break, and when we come back, the news continues.
Light. From the beginning of time, light has been there.
It is integral to our survival and to our way of living.
We need light to work,
To build,
to grow things, and even to see our loved ones.
light makes things easier and better.
So QCell has changed the way you buy Q-Power to make it easier and more accessible.
You can now access the same service quickly and get your cash power tokens instantly with the new QCell Q-Power code.
To light up your world, simply dial *363#.
With a touch of your fingers,
With ease and convenience from the comfort of your home or office,
you can bring light into your world instantly with *363#.
Q-Power, lighting your world.
QCell Sunyabus.
We innovate, others follow.
It is the new era in broadcasting. We showed it to you with our continuously improving content with thousands of viewers around the world. Now, how do you take advantage of our existing and constantly increasing viewership? Advertise with QTV and reach a large audience. Call us on 3244 or email marketing@qtv.gm. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. QTV Gambia. QTV, a new era in broadcasting.
Welcome back, and this is QTV News. Thank you once more if you're just joining us. The University of the Gambia Medical Students Association, in collaboration with the National Blood Transfusion Service, on Thursday held a blood donation exercise at the military school at Fajara Barracks. QTV's Ansumana Esonyasi was there, and this is his report.
As part of activities marking Health Week, the University of the Gambia Medical Students, in partnership with the National Blood Transfusion Services and the Gambia Armed Forces, held a day-long blood donation exercise at the military training school at Fajara Barracks. The Gambia Armed Forces has over the years been hailed as the highest blood donor in the Gambia, and this was again manifested by the GAF Command's immediate approval for another blood donation exercise in one of the major barracks in the country. Ridwan A. Sani, Health Secretary at the University of the Gambia Medical Students Association, and Safi Abia, Deputy Program Officer with the National Blood Transfusion Services, explained the importance of this exercise.
People tend to or not to know what the importance as well as its advantage when it comes to issue of blood donation. It's quite obvious. The more you donate, the more you get, and of course, you tend to be free from these, other health conditions.
Cesarean sections because of accidents, because of other complication, pregnancy complication, disease conditions. It means that the demand for blood is going to be high. Well, unfortunately, we have more relative blood donors rather than voluntary blood donors.
Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant Malik Sanyang, said the Gambia Armed Forces are honored to take part in this exercise as it conforms with the Army Command's efforts to further enhance civil-military relations, adding that the GAF is always prepared to come to the aid of the Gambia whenever the need arises.
Well, I would just like to appeal to our civilian counterparts as well, because if you look at the military, our percentage, it's just a fortunate percentage actually, but our civilian counterparts outnumber us by far and wide. So if they could also, take up the same willingness as members of the Gambian forces are doing, to donate, I think it will be, the thing of past to have people dying just because they lack blood.
Speaking earlier, two participants, Alpha Sano, a private soldier, and Corporal Veronique Jata, expressed their delight at taking part in such an important exercise and urged their colleagues to donate blood. Like in many parts of the world, the Gambia is also facing deficiency of blood stock, and that poses a threat to life. The increasing need for blood globally requires everyone to contribute by donating blood and motivating others for the cause. Ansumana Iso Nyasi for QTV News.
A 3-day training for journalists on reporting on FGM was organized by the Women's Bureau in partnership with the Ministry of Women's Affairs, Children and Social Welfare. the impact of FGM on the lives of women in society, especially young girls, was also highlighted. Mam Jara Sise tells us more.
Female genital mutilation is a traditional belief and practice which involves circumcising women using blades, scissors, and other items which can be harmful. The practice is common in parts of Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Statistics indicate that 75% of women in the Gambia aged 19 to 49 and 54% between the age of 10 to 14 have been involved in the act. The practice in our traditional society is sometimes labeled as an attempt to control the security, purity, modesty, and beauty of females. FGM has been revealed to be harmful and that it affects women in many ways, including during childbirth. Falusau, National Coordinator of the Network Against Gender-Based Violence and Action Aid, elaborates.
It has what we call the short-term and the long-term consequences. And when you talk of the short-term consequences, those are the consequences that happens to the person immediately or during the process of the cutting. And it includes bleeding, severe bleeding, because where it's cut, there's a lot of nerve cells there. So if it is cut, there is most likely that a lot of blood will flow and the person can bleed a lot and it can cause shock for that girl. And also it can cause infection because the tools that they use for cutting sometimes could be infected with tetanus or other diseases.
He further talks about the health implications of FGM on the lives of victims.
This girl, when she grows up to become a girl, she can also have a lot of complications. One of them is if it is type 3 where you are sealed, they might have problem of urine, problem of menstrual problem, pain, and also difficulties because the place is sealed and sometimes the mens could not flow, the menstrual blood would not be able to flow as it should flow. But when the girl also grows older and is a woman, they have suffered pain during sexual intercourse, which is also a problem, especially if you are type 2 or type 3. They normally suffer from that because the place is cut up and then it's difficult, it's always tight, it's difficult for sexual intercourse. So when you are also delivering, it's always a big problem for women, especially those who have undergone type 2 and type 3 because the place is tied up and it will not be easy for this baby to come out. So most of them will suffer cuts or would have to be operated, or sometimes they will have to cut themselves open so that the baby can pass through.
FGM is traditionally practiced by some ethnic groups in the Gambia, though many believe it is against women's rights. The practice can have psychological and long-term effects on many girls who are victims. Victims can suffer from infection and even infertility, while some bleed to death. It has also been shown that victims who have undergone what is called FGM type 1 are more at risk of going into prolonged labor, which might lead to the death of the baby. The lack of sterilized blades used by some during the process can also increase other health risks, including, for example, HIV and AIDS. In 2015, the practice was outlawed in the Gambia under the Women's Amendment Act of 2015. However, some people in rural areas still engage in the practice. The law states that people involved in the practice will be fined 50,000 or face a 3-year jail term. Currently, there is no data relating to the numbers prosecuted or convicted. Reporting for QTV News, I am Mamjara Asise.
A $19 million 5-year project funded by the World Bank to the Gambia Commercial, Agriculture and Value Chain Project is making good headway in the West Coast region. The project supports a fully functional state-of-the-art fruits and vegetable processing factory which is ready to process raw materials. Babukar C has the rest of the details.
The processing factory located in Kembuje, West Coast region will help greatly in reducing post-harvest loss, not only in the West Coast region but the country at large. The factory can transform raw products like mangoes, cashew, and moringas to either juice or powder. Supported by GCAF through the World Bank's $19 million funded project, the processing factory will, according to agro-processing experts, help greatly in closing the Gambia's unemployment gap among women and youths. Ibrahim Abba, the agro-processing manager, outlines the factory's production areas on fruits and vegetables, which he says has helped reduce post-harvest loss and increase production capacity.
With the intervention of GCAF, at least it has ameliorated the system, and then it has improved the production capacity, because then most of it was manual, but with the intervention of GCAF through the matching grant, at least we were able to secure some machines on the mango line, that is the mango processing line, and in the processing line, that is the filling machine for the juice. So the intervention really, helps a lot, because it has really ameliorated the system. And it increased the level of production. We are getting mangoes from our hard growers, and then we are getting some from our fields here. Likewise, the vegetable too. We are outsourcing some through the vegetable hard growers, but then we grow our own vegetables here. But when it comes to volume, because when it is during the export season, they are unable to give us the volumes that we want. Because when you look at during the mango season, we need a lot of tonnage. We expect a lot of tonnage from the hard growers, but which means that we are not getting them, because which means that some of the hard growers, they need to change their attitude. That is, they need to control their farms. Farm sanitation is key, because this is an export thing, so it needs to be a Global Gap certified company, in order for you to be able to export.
He was, however, also quick to mention some of the constraints they are facing with the processing work in the factory, but believe with time it will be a thing of the past. The factory, he said, during the season employs hundreds of Gambians, mostly women.
To help us through the matching grant to get more sophisticated machines, whereby at least we will be able to, it will increase the level of production, whereby we can supply the whole country and even widen the export market as well. We employed a lot of people, because if you see during the mango season, we employed around 300 personnels, because the mango is a strong one, whilst the vegetable too is the same. So the employment rate is very high, and then if you look at the male and the female, if it is in terms of percentage, 90% is all women's, so 10% is men, because basically packers in a pack house or in a production area or in a processing line, women's are just extraordinary. They do it perfectly well. So this means that 90% is all female, then 10% is male.
It is believed that if the factory is well handled and get the needed support, the machines can process tons of vegetables and fruits that the country can benefit from, whilst exporting many to the rest of the world. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
The American International University, West Africa, holds an orientation for the class of September 2019 students at the university's campus in Kanifing. Aliu Cisse reports.
Since inception in January 2011, the American International University West Africa has evolved to respond to the challenges and need for access to quality higher education for those that meet the requirements from the Gambia and beyond. For these freshmen and women, their journey towards attaining higher academic qualification is just beginning, and their choice of Iowa is certainly a right one. Speaking to QTV, Dr. Makital, Vice Chancellor of the university, explains how the university started in the Gambia years ago and its vision. While congratulating the students on their admission, Dr. Tal urged them to be steadfast and committed to their studies to realize their goals. During the orientation, heads of different faculties used the occasion to brief the incoming students on their expectations, which include to serve as good ambassadors for the university and to strive for success. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
At another venue, the University of the Gambia School of Journalism and Digital Media, in its orientation for the new intake of students, briefed the new entrants about journalism and the school's regulations. Malik Nyang attended the orientation and he now reports.
A new intake of students were welcomed at the UTG School of Journalism and Digital Media's orientation ceremony, which outlined to students the significance of journalism in the society and its principles. In addition, they were also briefed about the responsibilities during the period of the study in the school. UTG's School of Journalism is one of the Gambia's institutions training students in the profession. Speaking in an interview, the Deputy Dean of the school, Dr. Adekunle, said it is part of the responsibility of journalists to both sensitize and set the agenda for public discourse and as well provide accurate information.
When the journalist keeps to the ethics of journalism, then you know that this is a professional journalist. So part of it is the way the journalist uses language. And part of it is that the fact that the journalist knows the danger of reeling out fake news. So when you observe all these ethics, you don't reel out fake news. You know, you are not display unnecessary emotion in the way you distance yourself from the news item. You distance your emotion from the news item. Then we know that, okay, this person has the professional touch.
Dr. Adekunle went on to encourage the students to be focused, plan their time, and do the right things.
It is true that the new students desire, they have a vision to become journalists. But I said they have to turn this vision into a mission and be serious about that mission. Be committed to what you are doing.
To be a professional journalist, its ethical values and criteria have to be maintained. During the orientation process, Demba Kande, a senior lecturer, also gave some words of advice.
Change is the only constant in life. So change and adapt to the new ways and make sure you harness your potentials and make sure the University of the Gambia School of Journalism go through you so you become that graduate that you've been yearning for.
The Journalism Students Association's president, Fatoumata Cisse, advised the students to use the opportunity the school provides and pave a better path for the future of the country.
I encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity this prestigious school provides. And I want you to look at this in three aspects: learning, growth, and leadership.
The philosopher Noam Chomsky, speaking about the meaning of journalism, said, "The duty of journalists is to tell the truth. Journalism means you go back to the actual facts. You look at the documents, you discover what the record is, and you report it that way." Other speakers at the orientation included other lecturers and senior students. The new students were welcomed to the Journalism Academy with the hope of achieving the school's objectives of molding young people to be professional journalists. Malik Nyang for QTV News.
Before we end this bulletin of the news, let's recap our main stories. A court case which at one time saw 37 youth accused of capital crimes which can carry a life sentence has now seen 30 released without charge and the remaining 7 facing less serious charges. As the National Assembly resumes, members have deliberated on the importance of road, transport and aviation proposals. Gambia's sprint queen, Gina Bass, has received another accolade following her gold and silver medal winning exploits at the recent African Games. A blood donation exercise has seen the Army once again demonstrate its commitment in supporting such initiatives. Despite being made illegal in 2015, the practice of FGM continues in many areas. How can journalists report on what is such a sensitive subject? A 3-day training course tries to provide the answers. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news.